Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
So I bought the business in 2021. The business was upside down, in ton of debt. The owner, who is not a newspaper person, said, we've got 100,000 more we can borrow, and then that's tilt. That's it. We're spending 20 grand to keep going. And I just came in. I couldn't sleep for a long time. I wake up heart pounding, making changes to people who are like, who is this person, salesperson? But I'm I've got a vision for how we could fix it. I asked the owner, what do you love about the paper and the magazine? He was like, nothing. I'm great. Okay, so I can fix this.
This is Small Press, Big Ideas, a podcast about the business of local news in the United States. I'm your host, Paul Gowert. Small Press, Big Ideas is about the opportunities and challenges that local news publishers are facing for their businesses. I'll sit down and talk with journalists, entrepreneurs, nonprofit leaders, and more in the local news industry to find out what's working, what isn't, and how the local news ecosystem can innovate and flourish in the 21st century. All right, today on the podcast, I'm joined by Laura Rearwin Ward. I think I did that pretty well. She's the publisher of Ojai Valley News, the founder, I believe, of the California Independent News Alliance. Is that CINA? Is that how you referred to it before?
I call it CINA, but...
CINA, sorry, yeah.
CINA.
And I've seen her around the space, been meaning to get her on the podcast. So thank you, Laura. Thanks for joining me. Appreciate it.
Super nice. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah. So I kind of start off every podcast kind of the same for myself and for the audience. If you could just tell us a little bit about your background and your story and how you got involved in local media up to, where you're at today. I'd love to hear it in your own words.
I came to the business through advertising sales. I worked in a few newspapers and magazines in Ventura County. So I knew this county for sales. And my local paper, I've been living in Ojai about 25 years. Oh, that'd be a phone call. I've lived in Ojai for about 25 years. Our local paper had gone bankrupt recently and was about to go bankrupt again. And its publisher, its ad salesperson, its graphic arts designer, and assistant were all leaving. And I was like, wow, they're going out of business. And then somebody goes, that they got to stuff it up first. And I was like, how can I help out here? So I met up with the owner and he hired me as publisher. I knew that I was not an editor. I love to write. I am a columnist now, opinion column I write, and I edit our magazine, but I have an assistant who helps. I more gather stories and write the intro. But so I hired a news editor as well. For a small paper, that is kind of different. And our communities had a hard time understanding what that means too. Sometimes they call me, they say, she's the editor. I go, I'm the publisher. And they just think, oh, she's splitting hairs. I'm like, because a lot of people don't know the difference. I'm like, no, the editor is the top journalist of the company, and the business is run by the publisher. But it was such a small paper. We have 9 employees. I wear all the hats. I do a little bit of absolutely everything. And if they need me to do a reporting an emergency, or mostly just support reporting kind of thing, like beat the bushes, get some more sources, those kind of things, ask questions, back channel, that type of thing, with city officials and that. So I bought the business in 2021. The business in 2018 when I came in was upside down, in ton of debt. The owner, who is not a newspaper person, said, we've got 100,000 more we can borrow, and then that's tilt. That's it. We're spending 20 grand to keep going. And I just came in. I couldn't sleep for a long time. I wake up like heart pounding, making changes to people who are like, who is this person, salesperson? But I'm like, I've got a vision for how we could fix it. I asked the owner, what do you love about the paper and the magazine? He was like, nothing. I'm like, great. Okay, so I can fix this. So I fixed this magazine, Ojai magazine, our paper. I changed everything about it. I changed logos. I changed designers. It's just kind of every part of it except distribution. That was one thing that was working. But the way we did billing, the way we did sizes of ads, the way we promoted it, the marketing, I brought my CRM. I already knew people. They were giving away the paper. What was going on was they were selling ads in the magazine, and then they were giving free ads in the paper. And I'm like, there's no such thing as free ads. There's either ads paid by the owner or ads paid by you. So did you want, our owner to pay for it? They're like, no, So it was kind of tough to take away all those free ads and keep people. But I gave the message of like, we've got this new plan to be sustainable. We're not going to go bankrupt. We're going to make it, and so we're going to need you to let go of those free ads, and I'm going to keep your price the same. So I only lost a few like that. And gradually we turned it around, and then COVID hit right when we were going to turn it around, break even. And then it looked like we were going to break even. And the owner was like, well, you gotta buy me out or I'll just sell it to some whoever conglomerate. You've got a year. You need to make me whole, blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
So basically buy your job. So that's what I did. I found two guys that both live in my town that didn't know each other, different politics, and I started working on them. At first, I thought, well, maybe we should be a nonprofit, or maybe it should be an investor thing. And I would talk to people, and they're like, well, how am I going to get my money back?
Right.
I'm like, okay, you're not going to get your money back. So I'm talking to the wrong people. So talk to people for whom this is a philanthropic endeavor for them and that they just have ownership, So finally, I found two people who are local who would say, I said, look, you're not going to get your money back. You're not going to have any say over the paper at all. You don't get to do editorial. You don't get to come by. You don't get to anything. And I might have to ask for more money later. And they were like, okay. It took a year for me to get to that place with them and saying, these are our numbers now. This is what I'm working on. Da, da, da. Like, it took a while of building trust. And that was a few years back. We've been breaking even. There was once I needed to ask for some cash flow help. So it's really close. We're close to the bone.
That's still pretty impressive from coming in like $100K in the hole or something like that. I think you texted me on the way to second bankruptcy. One of my questions was going to be kind of dig into how you did that, but from the sounds of it, it wasn't necessarily rocket science. I can't believe they were giving away free ads.
Yeah, there was a lot. Yeah, there was a lot wrong. I had worked at another paper where the publisher was an ad person originally also. So I had seen that model before with the editor as, another person. Yeah, it was stuff like they had there was only 12 pages left in the paper. It was like $3,000 a week was all they were bringing in. Everybody was running around managing free space, and also they didn't have defined space. People would go, well, I'm interested in an ad. And they're like, okay, well, what do you want? And they're like, oh, here's what column inches. Here's column inch. How many column inches? They're like, I don't know what column inches are. So, then I'm like, okay, well, let's make defined sizes. Let's make them, people can't just be whatever size they want. So anyway, I just had to trust my instincts and my past publications. I'd worked for an excellent magazine. So the magazine was the first thing I completely overhauled, made it gorgeous, simple rules like no fluorescent yellow and stuff. No putting food ads next to, pesticide ads, just basics. So sometimes that's the easy stuff. I feel like I've, moved away all the easy stuff, and now I try to look for, that's why I've worked on legislation to try to fix things that way. I've like, okay, let's have the best of both worlds. So I started a nonprofit also called Ojai Valley News Foundation. So this foundation supports the independent newspapers of Ventura County, of which there are 5. And my idea was we'll raise money. That way we could apply for grants. If they need an audit, we can kind of move it through this nonprofit. The community who wants to give money and wants a nonprofit, we would have one. So I went through all that. I have that nonprofit. It does make some money. It's tough. I'm not sure it's a great. Jury's out. Jury's out. I showed a movie last January, showed Stripped for Parts, American Journalism on the Brink.
I've seen that going around. Yeah, I haven't actually watched it, but I've seen it popping up on the internet.
Recently, it was showing free on PBS. So check PBS. It might still be up there if they still are around, which is sad. But anyway, that helped our community understand the situation for newspapers, for independence. And also we raised $25,000 that day.
Wow.
So that was a nice way to raise some money. Then is the process of writing grants for it, applying for my own, with the board. I'm not on the board. I'm a temporary executive director. So it's a lot of hassle.
Right.
Nonprofit are. So that's one thing, another way I try to supplement us.
Excellent. What's I'm just curious. I didn't have this in the questions or anything, but you're kind of talking about, obviously getting rid of free ads, kind of tightening the ship on, what you're actually selling in the paper and everything. Just because, a big focus on the show is business model sustainability.
Okay.
What is kind of taking the cash register for the Ojai Valley News? So you
What's
have a
the
weekly, the kind of like revenue sources. You've got the weekly print edition.
Weekly print. We have
everything's daily on the web really these days,
daily on the web. Well, I got a grant from the Knight Foundation for $20,000 a few years back, which paid for a few years of website on blocks. We had a new blocks. We had a completely broken site.
Gotcha.
So another one is Best of Ojai that, that's good for about $30,000 a year, something like that. Then the magazine, we do 4 times a year. It's 132 pages. It's regional, 25,000 copies. So I'm really proud of that. That's part of, again, a longer feature format way to help share the stories and connect our community members through stories about people they maybe didn't know were there, then they meet them. Our town's small, so reading about someone is someone you really could meet.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really important for the fabric of the community. Yep. As far as revenue, the weekly in print, we have our own delivery people. I have like 3.
Really? That's cool. I haven't heard that much. A lot of the people I talked to, a lot of people. I had a guy on recently who's using the postal service up in New England, and he's very frustrated with it right now. But
we use postal if they're in Ventura, outside of our area. We use postal, and then it's a couple days later. I haven't managed. There's a lot. I have talked to other publishers about getting stuff out same day. If you go to the post office, I mean, I know the mechanism. I just don't have the circulation yet in my outer areas to do that. But I'd really love to do that. I'm working on expanding. That's another way I'm trying to grow is by, my idea to survive is to grow my base. So Ventura County has been shrinking in its news coverage since it's Gannett taking care of the county, and they're not doing too well. And another chain, Arizona chain, owns 2 other papers. So they're just shrinking it down there. And so we've been covering in Ventura. And so I had to start another brand to do it because our town is smaller than county. So I started a brand called Ventura County Sun. And
I was gonna ask about that when I was kind of looking at stuff.
What it really is another section of the paper. But it's all set. This is the protests. This is it's another page on our website. It's another brand. It's another banner. And as I grow it, the idea is as we grow it, then it can become more and more of its own. But if you're in Ventura, you get that Ventura section on top. So I just have the printer do the other one on top.
Oh, that's cool. I like
We were,
that. Yeah.
we were talking about ways to streamline something that isn't working. And I'll tell you an interesting one that I came up with that I took a risk on and that I really think worked. We have a very older community, and I can say that as I am one of them, but everybody's over 55 here. And that basically, when I came in, everybody was getting the senior discount. And they were paying $25, for the paper for a year. I mean, we were
Wow.
completely like, who's paying to subsidize that? I couldn't afford that. So what I did was instead, this one day, one of the wealthier women in town who owns a shop came in and said, I always support the Ojai Valley News. And she gave her a $25 check. And I was like, that's it. That's it. This is not working anymore.
Right.
So what I did was I shifted the discount to be inclusive of everyone and to eliminate the earned discount and make it a charitable discount. So we renamed it the need discount. If you need a discount, just say so and you get the cheaper price.
I like that. I like
all
that.
you have to do is ask for it. It's funny because at the time, my boss that I worked for was like, you can't do this. We can't just give away everything. We can't just make it for everyone. You've got to, will not work. I'm like, listen, settle down. We have 20 people doing it. And the people who are doing it need a discount. And but what happens is all the seniors call up and they go, I want my senior discount. Oh, we've expanded the senior discount to include anyone who needs a discount. Do you need a discount? Oh, no. I just want the senior discount. So we talked to them. Well, what we found was that not just seniors need discounts. It's students.
Yeah.
Young
It's
people.
important. It's important to get the info. Yeah.
In our community, it's younger people that need the discount. So
yeah.
But I don't say that, but I'm just like, and so then at least most people see it, they understand that it's for whoever needs it. And maybe that's not them.
I like that. Hopefully plays on some consciences. If you're rolling up to pay your $25 in your Bentley, you probably don't need the discount, or whatever it is.
Yeah. And we also don't offer that online. It's only in person or with the cards on paper. So we mail those cards and it offers the need discount on paper. And if they call up and they ask about a discount, then we tell them.
I see. I like that. That's a good move. It's smart.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
So going back a little bit, you had mentioned legislation and some stuff about that.
Yeah.
And I know one thing I wanted to talk about, and I want to hear about it too, is you founded, right, the California Independent News Alliance. Talk about that a little bit. Just tell me kind of how that came into be and kind of what you do with that. Yeah. I'll let you take it.
Yeah, we're about to have our second annual meeting in Visalia, January 3rd, 24th. And basically came to, the AB 886 and SB 1327 were two journalism bills that were working their way through California state. And I was helping Senator Glazer on SB 1327 because I got excited about it, actually. And I reached out and I said, hey, I think you need to make a couple of changes on this legislation. And then I started a conversation and then he invited me to help introduce the bill. And then I ended up on a group of people working with it, like Rebuild Local News, Media Guild of the West. Anyway, some other people who were helping to push 1327 was a tax credit for that Google and would have paid for. I think it was Google and I think it was Meta also. Yeah, it was Google, Meta, and X. I think Anyway, it was. It died, so that's why the details are becoming vague. But
And wasn't there, is that the one I was just reading about it where it was supposed to be 20 million or 200 million of funding and it got approved, but just nothing is kind of happening with it? Is that the same one? I was just reading a story the other day.
It went pretty far along, and actually the CMPA, they were against it. They were against it. Then they said they were neutral, but they also weren't sharing any of the information about it. They saw it as competing of AB 886, which was a bill that pretty much, unfortunately, until the very, very end, it cut out the smalls pretty much. The smalls were just going to get a pittance, and the bigs were going to get a lot of money. 1927 was, I thought, for everyone, but looked more bottom up in the way it was going to. Basically, Governor Newsom signaled that he was going to veto them both. So I think they both might have passed, actually. We were close. We thought we had about to have the votes. They were waiting to call it to the floor. So anyway, they both failed, and they worked out this Google deal behind closed doors. CMPA, Google, Buffy Wicks, Assembly Member Wicks got together and worked something out, and they're still trying to work it out. Nothing has happened. The independents are not included in that conversation. My problem with what the deal is that the state of California taxpayers have been now included into matching the Google money. And if Google doesn't put the money in, then the state doesn't match it, and it's optional for Google. So I kind of feel like in some ways they just got a $20 million cudgel to hold over our heads so that we will stay in line and do the right thing. So I just kind of wash my hands of that. I'm moving on to, so with that, I realized that that the independents were not organized. They were not talking to each other. Most of the independents didn't know about 1327. And even if they were members of CMPA decided not to share that information with them. So it just, that's when I realized we need to know who we all are, who owns what, and then advocate for ourselves. So I set about figuring out who owns what. I have a giant spreadsheet. I'm always finding out. It's about 205 newspapers that are independently owned and operated in California. The biggest one I have is 16 papers for one person. The rest are below that, and most are, it'd be up to 3 is kind of common. So I've got 105 members now, and we have a website.
That's awesome.
News, and we're working with groups, coalitions on legislation. Senator Glazer is now termed out in California, but I think that he might be trying to get back in to something elected. I'm not sure. And he's interested in putting forward another tax credit bill, which I've offered to help. So we're just going to start those conversations like now. So yeah, that's exciting. And we're working on some other legislation ideas as well.
That's awesome. I'll be following along. That's really cool. So I dove into and you said you're working with Rebuild Local News. Has something, you're working with them in some way with CINA?
Yeah. I met Steve Waldman with the Glazer work in that.
I see. Okay.
He was a great person to get to know, and has included me in his coalition meetings. They have a meeting every now and then, monthly, to bring new ideas, new things. They share what they're up to. They do a lot of great work and, try advocacy. And they were really strong in trying to help the 1327. So, I stay in touch, as a affiliate, because they're national. They're not, California thing. It just was really necessary to have a group of California newspapers. I think I want our legislators to know that the value, what community newspapers bring to communities, and having them be chain news is just not is really detracting from what the people deserve. And it could be a chain of a big corporation, or it could be a chain of a nonprofit. Nonprofits are not, just sainted, it's like, it depends on where that money is coming from and, what they're doing. Are they nonprofit? I'm hopeful that nonprofits will support news rather than own and try to take over all the news. What I really care about is that there's a diversity of ownership, meaning the news, a free press in many hands, not few. And it doesn't matter who the few are, it's better to be in many hands. So that's, not every paper is going to be perfect, but not every paper is going to be unbiased or quality, but then another one could come in and compete with that. It's just the gobbling up of anything independent. I think it's not just facing newspapers. This is facing property, facing farms.
Yeah, absolutely.
Companies, businesses. I mean, we're here fighting for the independence in our town. Our town does not allow chain stores.
Oh, really? Nice.
They try. It's at a certain level. I mean, retail, but they do still allow like franchised realtors, real estate, for example.
I see.
They allow some things like if, I don't know, financial like banks and stuff like that. But
that kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, that same spirit of that is sort of where I'm at. I would like for our state government to find ways, or our national government to find ways to support independence and help. I mean, this gobbling up of news has been going on since 1987. It's just getting worse and worse as fewer companies own more and more. And it seems like, I don't know, I'd love for us to be able to catch a break. So
yeah, I know. That's kind of the goal of the show, is to kind of shine a light on this stuff and figure it out. But and yeah, I just asked about rebuild because I had Steve Waldman on this podcast a while back. If anybody wants to go listen to that, scroll back in the feed. But I know they're doing good work more on the, like you said, in Washington on the national level also. But I was just curious about that.
We need them, and he's listening. Like if there's a bill, like during that time with that bill, I'd say we'd be talking about the details of how the bill should be working, the mechanics of it. And he'd say, well, I think we should do this. And I'm like, wait, but if you do that, you're going to cut out all of the people whose revenue is like under $500,000 a year, and he'd go, oh, okay, let's change it to this. And then I'd say something and he goes, oh, but then you're going to cut out all of this. And I go, okay, let's change it to that, like room in this tent, for all of us. There are, and it isn't going to be one law or there's not going to be a pill. It's a suite of solutions that we need.
Right. As with most good episodes, we kind of didn't strictly follow the questions here or whatever. Yeah. I'll ask I'll switch up a little bit, my obligatory AI question, because it has to come up on every episode and it's all over the world. And a lot of publishers answer this. I don't know. I don't think I've had a single person say they're using it to write reporting or anything like that, AI. But I was curious kind of your overall thoughts and if there are any tools or if it's making your job easier in any way on the back end. Just like hearing what folks are doing with it. Yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, I continue. Actually, my husband is in tech, and so he's not afraid of AI. So I'm around someone who's okay with it. So we do test it out. I mean, we've been looking at different. Yeah, I actually AI'd myself recently.
Oh yeah, how's that? How do you do that?
It's because I realized no one's going to Google you anymore,
right?
To AI you. So I said, read. So it's all about the prompt. Is telling the system that you're talking to. Grok, ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever. Telling it who it is, telling it who you are, and then asking for what you want. So, and it'll put it in context that way. So you can say like, read everything written by Laura Rearwin Ward and tell me what her views are, her opinions, what she's interested in. Like, give me the rundown, So I just think people will be doing that more and more for all kinds of things. So I did do it, and it did seem pretty right on, actually. I think Grok maybe had the best one. Maybe that's because I have a Twitter account, but
that makes sense.
I just wanted to know. I wanted to know what people could see about me easily. Like I didn't know how deep it would go into like scraping your socials. and I kind of wanted to know. So that's why I was checking it out. As far as how we would use it at the paper, we do have the argument going on with the designer of this magazine. So, because he's desperate to, use it more for photos and stuff. And we're saying, hold back. We're a newspaper. We don't want to have manipulation. So,
Right.
it's really a conversation that we're still having. We don't have a straight up policy about it. However, I have been shocked and upset when I was approached recently by a nonprofit chain that's looking to take over more and more papers in California. It's from out of state. And he said, oh, we're going to be sustainable and we can offer good wages. I'm like, oh, great. Well, how are you going to be sustainable? Because I haven't really been working on this. I got rid of Google ads on my website. I sell my own, for example. And he's like, and I said, but I don't see a whole lot more there to pay the kind of salaries you're talking about. And he's like, well, we're going to sell editorial content. We're going to sell news. We're going to write it ourselves, and we're going to have people fact check it and stuff. And so anyway, he's telling me they're going to sell, which to me, I can't believe it. I'm just horrible. And then I looked on their website and I saw they're advertising for a tech person to combine a platform, WordPress with an AI to write content that human beings fact check. And that's what one of my reporters says. He's afraid and feels certain, because he's a pessimist, but he thinks that the future of news reporting is just going to be that we're all fact checkers. He's like, the irony of it is fact checkers were the first people to get thrown out of the industry, and now they're going to be the only ones left in the end, that we're just going to be fact checking what AI writes. Well, I talked to other people. One of my CINA members is the Sun Gazette, Reggie Ellis. He's awesome. He also has a printer. He is saying that because they use AI to make a new legals platform to deliver legals on your website called Lantern AI.
Do you know Paul Myers? I think he's he's a good friend of mine. He's been on the podcast. I was just looking up. I'm like, is this Lantern and Mineral King? So yeah, I was just looking that up.
Okay, so that's CINA. He is an officer,
Awesome.
as I am. Yeah. I'm chair of the board. He's treasurer. Yep. And Paul's sat right here behind me in my office telling me, how are you doing things? He
was texting me earlier, actually, Paul. That's funny.
Okay, yeah. So he's going to be at this meeting in January too. I hope some more people will join us. So it's kind of a short notice thing. But what I was going to say is that their belief is that it's an opportunity for independents to do what they do best. Like, we're local, we're doing it by hand. I mean, that's what I've been, But that said, I still want to be able to feed a pile of documents in and query that pile of documents for information. That way a smaller team can punch above its weight when they're going like, oh, I can synthesize all this stuff, which normally would not be able to. So there's a lot of ways that, it's good, and maybe all the ways that it's bad. For example, on Facebook has been blowing up this story we had about the Venezuelan protest, right? It was the day after. But when I look on our Facebook page, it's just blown up with like 700 comments, which is more than, would normally be. And you go through and they're like, half of them are bots. And I know because
the bots are ridiculous.
We know the people. Yeah. So I'm just thinking, maybe people are eventually going to get sick of Battle of the Bots, and they're going to want to go somewhere else.
It scares me just by my friends who aren't in the industry or paying attention. I'm like, that's probably a bot. And they're like, you think? And then they look at it. I'm like, go click on their profile. Is it a picture of an American flag and they joined a month ago? It's just like, I don't think people are thinking about that. It kind of scares me sometimes that people don't realize how bad that problem is, especially on Facebook. And sorry, I interrupted you.
Right?
There.
No, and that's exactly it. It is kind of hard. Yeah. And, people, it's tough because I think all the people giving news a bad name, some of them are in the news industry. So, I just, when people are like, well, people don't trust the news and that's a problem and people need to trust it. It's like, people shouldn't trust what they can't trust. I mean,
right? Yeah.
Is the newspaper trustworthy? Are the news is mainstream media? I kind of don't like that term, mainstream media, because I
don't like it either. Yeah.
I'm mainstream. We're here in our town. We're the paper of record 134 years. Like,
right? Yeah,
that's pretty mainstream. So maybe it's corporate, but I mean, we're also a corporations. But it's saying, well, I don't know, hedge fund media or billionaire oligarch media. I don't know. Who owns the media does matter.
Yep. So. Great. Laura, this is great. I didn't quite get to all my questions, but we're coming up on time, and I think I can hear my preschoolers waking up from their nap, so I should probably get off of here pretty quick. Could you just tell us where people can find you online? Wait, I'll link to CINA. I'll link to your websites.
Nice.
Anything else you want me to promote or link out there?
I'm a publisher at ohiValleyNews.com. You can send me a note. CINA.news has the email addresses and of all of our members. We're here. We're getting junk mail. We're willing. Yeah. We put our thing out there. I'd love to talk with anybody who got a good idea for me.
Yeah, awesome. I'll put it out there. For some reason, it's been really California heavy lately. I interviewed people from all over the country. You and the two of the other last 5 people we've had on have all been in California, which is just funny how it works out like that. Got to reach out to people.
Let me know who you're looking for, what type of people or information, and I love connecting people to people. And I've gotten to know a lot of the independents, so I say go independent.
Awesome, go independent. I love it. All right, Laura, thank you so much. Hope you have a great weekend. And we'll stay in touch.
You too. Happy New Year.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for listening to Small Press Big Ideas. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to help the show, the best thing you can do is to tell a friend or colleague and just take a few minutes to leave a rating and a review on whatever platform you're listening to right now. It only takes a minute out of your day, but it really does help the podcast grow and reach more ears. Check back for new episodes every Monday.